Welcome back to Whispering Shadows, where we explore the darkest corners of human experience. Before we begin tonight's story, I want to warn you, what you are about to hear isn't just another tale of things that go bump in the night. This is the story of Sarah Chen, a college student whose normal evening commute turned into something that would haunt her hometown for years to come. Some details have been changed to protect the privacy of those involved, but the core events, those are exactly as they happened. Let me take you to Millbrook, a quiet suburban town just outside Seattle, the kind of place where everyone knows everyone, where the most exciting thing is usually the Friday night football game. Sarah was a first-year nursing student at Cascade Community College, making the 40-minute commute each day on the 167 bus route on Wednesday, November 12th. Sarah stayed late at the library studying for her anatomy finals by the time she packed up her books. Heavy rain was falling, turning the windows into rivers of shadow. The campus had emptied hours ago, leaving only the distant hum of fluorescent lights and the occasional security guard making their rounds. Sarah checked her phone. 10:47 p.m. The last bus home would arrive at 11 o'clock. She'd taken this route dozens of times, but something felt different that night. Maybe it was the way the rain distorted the streetlights, or how the wind seemed to whisper between the buildings. Or maybe, deep down, some ancient part of her brain was trying to warn her about what was waiting on that bus. The bus arrived exactly on schedule, its headlights cutting through the rain like searchlights. Sarah hurried aboard, swiping her transit card and nodding to the driver, an older man she didn't recognize, his face half hidden by the shadows of his uniform cap. The interior lights were dimmer than usual, flickering occasionally as the bus pulled away from the curb. Sarah wasn't alone. 5 other passengers were scattered throughout the vehicle, each sitting alone, each completely still. A businessman in a dark suit, briefcase clutched to his chest. An elderly woman in a red raincoat, staring intently at her reflection, a teenager with headphones, though no music played. A middle-aged man in work boots, his clothes soaked despite having been on the bus for who knows how long. And at the very back, a young woman about Sarah's age, wearing a white dress that seemed to glow in the darkness. As they drove through the outskirts of town, Sarah noticed something strange. None of the other passengers were leaving watermarks on their seats, despite the heavy rain outside. Their clothes were dry docked to dry, and none of them swayed with the motion of the bus. The route should have taken them down Marshall Avenue, past the mall, and toward the residential districts. But the streets outside were becoming unfamiliar. The buildings looked wrong, older, abandoned, their windows dark and empty. Sarah checked her phone to pull up the bus route, but the screen showed only static. When they passed the same decrepit movie theater for the 3rd time, Sarah knew something was terribly wrong. She pulled the stop request cord, but no chime sounded. The other passengers remained motionless, their faces now all turned toward their windows, as if watching something Sarah couldn't see. The businessman slowly turned his head, too slowly, like a mechanical doll. His face had changed, where features should have been. There was only smooth, pale skin. The elderly woman's reflection in the window didn't match her form. It showed something hunched and twisted. With too many joints, Sarah stood up. Stumbling toward the front of the bus, "I need to get off," she told the driver. But when he turned to face her, his uniform cap fell away, revealing eyes that reflected the darkness like mirrors. His smile stretched impossibly wide. "This is the last bus home," he said, his voice echoing as if from far away. "Everyone gets where they need to go, eventually." Other passengers began to stand, their movements jerky and unnatural. The girl in the white dress spoke, her voice carrying the sound of static and distant screams. "We've been waiting for someone to see us. It's been so long since we made it home." Sarah realized the terrible truth. She'd heard the stories growing up, whispered rumors about bus 167, how it disappeared one stormy night 30 years ago with 6 passengers aboard. No trace was ever found. But here they were, still riding, still trying to find their way home. The bus lurched to a stop at an intersection that shouldn't exist, a crossroads between somewhere and nowhere. Through the front windshield, Sarah could see 2 roads. One led back toward the familiar lights of Millbrook. The other seemed to fade into an impossible darkness. The passengers surrounded her, their forms flickering like bad television reception. The girl in the white dress extended her hand. "Stay with us," she whispered. Nobody should have to ride alone. But Sarah remembered something her grandmother once told her about crossroads, their places of power, of choice. And in that moment, she chose to run. She slammed her body against the bus doors, which burst open with a sound like screaming metal. She fell onto wet pavement, the rain real and cold against her skin. When she looked back, the bus was gone. Only empty street and falling rain remained. They found Sarah 3 miles from the bus stop. Soaked to the bone but alive, the official report blamed bad weather and confusion for her experience. But the security cameras at Cascade Community College showed something strange that night. Sarah Chen boarding a bus that, according to transit authority records, hadn't run that route in 3 decades. Even now, on rainy nights, when the last bus of Route 167 makes its rounds, some passengers report seeing extra stops on the digital display, stops with names that don't exist on any map. And sometimes, through the rain-streaked windows, they glimpse other passengers sitting perfectly still, waiting to make their final journey home. If you're riding the last bus tonight, take a good look at your fellow passengers. And maybe, just maybe, don't look too closely at their reflections in the windows. If this story kept you on the edge of your seat, make sure to hit that subscribe button and join our community of whispering shadows. Ring that notification bell to catch every new tale as soon as it drops. Want to share your own late-night bus experiences? Leave them in the comments below. But remember, some stories are better left untold. Until next time, stay safe. And remember, not all rides end where they're supposed to.